Dungeon Siege 3 is an action role-playing game developed by Obsidian Entertainment and published by Square Enix for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 and Microsoft Windows in 2011. Gameplay: the player can choose from one of 4 characters who have different backstories and who seek to re-establish the 10th Legion and fight Jane Cassandra for control of EHB. The background is based in a fantasy medieval world with geographic variety in open and closed environments. Following an ambush by Cassandra's forces in the beginning, the player character will travel through EHB in order to fulfill their goals. As the game progresses and different quests are completed, the other 3 characters will first meet and then join the player character. Depending on which character the player chose, some events encounters might be subtly changed and the lines of dialogue are altered to fit the character's backstory. Unlike the previous games in the series, the player can only choose a single one of the 3 non-player characters to accompany them at a time, although they can exchange them immediately via the game's menu at any point of the game. The companion character will be controlled by the game's AI but can be seamlessly controlled by a second player through the game's online feature. Using the multiplayer feature, up to 4 players can play the campaign together. Each character has 2 different styles of fighting, each to handle different situations. For example, the character of Lucas can wield a 2-handed sword to damage a lot of enemies at once but with less protection, or use a 1-handed sword and shield to fight against single strong enemies or to block attacks. In addition, there are 3 different special abilities for each stance that require focus, the game's equivalent to magic points, to use. The amount of focus required varies based on the ability used. Each of those abilities has an improved version available after meeting certain conditions, such as using the skill a certain number of times. There are also 3 different passive abilities. The improved versions of the attack abilities and the passive abilities use a different system of power spheres. All improved and passive abilities will deplete such a sphere. Both the focus points and the spheres are refilled by fighting enemies. While amount of focus available will always be a maximum of 100%, the player will start with only 1 sphere and gain 3 additional ones at key points of the plot, regardless of their level or experience points. Additionally, each character has 10 different skills they can increase at each level reached, allowing them to improve their attacks, get bonus effects when being hit, etc. Each of the 4 characters features 9 different sets of equipment, meaning that no piece of equipment can be used by multiple characters. It also features an transmute item mode, allowing the player to transmute their items into their worth in gold instantly from the items menu without having to sell them to a shop. Unlike the previous games in the series, Dungeon Siege 3 features a new control system. Created to accommodate the parallel release on consoles as well as on the PC. The game no longer features an automatic targeting system and point-and-click mechanics. Instead, the player moves their character using the keyboard or a controller and has to point the character in the direction of the enemies they want to fight and then press the attack button to fight. The game uses a display engine that makes the entire experience seamless by constantly loading required game scenes in the background. This way, the game does not need any load screens often found in other games. Plot story the game returns to the Kingdom of EHB, which already featured as the setting of the first game. Roughly 150 years after the events of Dungeon Siege, the 10th Legion, who provided stability and protection for the kingdom for 400 years, has almost completely been wiped out. 30 years before the game's setting, Jane Cassandra rallied the people of Eastern EHB and the Asonite Church against the Legion, who she blamed for the death of the king. Following a long and brutal campaign, she managed to kill the entire remnant of the Legion in a battle in the Ruckenval Forest, and the royalist army of young Queen Rosalind has been driven deep into the mines of Glitterdelve, losing almost all of their power. A small group of legionnaires remained, led by a man calling himself the Venerable Otto, a former Legion spy. He kept descendants of the Legion safe from Cassandra and, at the beginning of Dungeon Siege 3, called them to meet in order to regroup the Legion. The player character arrives to find the meeting place attacked by mercenaries of Cassandra's. With the help of Martin Guiscard, another Legion descendant, the player tracks down Otto at a former Legion safehouse. After hearing what happened, the player sets out to find other survivors and information on the attacks. After fighting more of Jane's mercenaries, the player travels to Stinleybridge City, to reopen the Grand Chapter House there. On the way to Stinleybridge, they help a group of royalist soldiers fighting Jane Cassandra. After reopening the Stinleybridge Chapter House, the player seeks to enlist the support of the royalists by aiding Queen Rosalind against Jane's assault on Glitterdelve and the help of the city of Stinleybridge by helping the Meisters who control the city. Their support ensured, the player attacks Jane's capital, the Spire of Azunai on top of Mount Sheb. After winning in battle against Jane, revealed to be an Archon, a member of a servant race to the lost creator gods, it is revealed that she seeks to use her power to reawaken her long-lost gods in the Ruckenval forest. The player travels to Ruckenval and fights a mutant god created by Jane. After the battle, the player captures Jane alive and may render judgment on her, allowing the player to choose the ending. Player characters Dungeon Siege 3 features 4 different characters. Depending on which character the player chooses, the plot is subtly altered, with the other 3 characters later available as AI-controlled companions or as characters for other players via the multiplayer feature. Lucas Montbaron, the youngest son of Hugh Montbaron, the Grand Master of the 10th Legion at the time of their last fight against Jane Cassandra 30 years before the game's setting. He is also a descendant of the First Lady Montbaron, the protagonist of Dungeon Siege, who is commonly only referred to as the Farmer. Lucas fights with a one-handed sword and shield or a two-handed sword. Anjali, an Archon, a member of a servant race to the lost creator gods. As a mythical being, she can shift between human form, fighting with a spear, and elemental fire form. Reinhardt Manx, a descendant of Merrick the Mage and therefore is able to fight with magic at range and in close combat. Katarina, the illegitimate daughter of Hugh Montbaron and a Liscanzi witch. She fights with a long-range rifle or a pair of shotguns at close range. Rebecca Grant modeled for Katarina's character. Development and release, Chris Taylor, the original creator of Dungeon Siege, served as an advisor during the development of the game. It is the 3rd game in the series not to be developed by Gas-Powered Games and the first to be published by Square Enix after it acquired the complete ownership of the Dungeon Siege franchise. After the release, a number of gamers complained about the controls on the PC version of the game, prompting the developer Obsidian Entertainment to address those concerns. A 3-issue mini-series also titled Dungeon Siege 3 was released digitally by Dark Horse Comics. A printed 4th edition was available as a pre-order bonus from Walmart. Dungeon Siege 3, Treasures of the Sun Dungeon Siege 3, Treasures of the Sun was released on October 25, 2011, as downloadable content for Dungeon Siege 3. It features a new location, several new monster types, 3 new obtainable perks, and raises the level cap to 35. The story follows the protagonist, S, on a journey to Aranoid Desert, where an undead outbreak is taking place, in search of a long-lost Legion spy and the mysterious greatest treasure of the Azunite Church. According to Destructoid, the downloadable content offers approximately 5 hours of added playtime to the base game. Reception: the title received a lukewarm response from critics, earning a Metacritic score of 72, 71 and 73 for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 and Windows platforms respectively. Charles Unyett of IGN stated that Obsidian Entertainment's take on the Dungeon Siege franchise has some merit. The core combat system is well designed, offering a small but useful set of abilities for each character class. The varied enemy encounters encourage the frequent use of abilities and the dodge mechanic, which makes the basic gameplay whittling down the health bars of enemies satisfying. But the rest of the game mostly falters, unfortunately, to a degree that overshadows its achievements. Dungeon Siege 3 is a dungeon crawler with a boring loot table, poorly implemented multiplayer, and little lasting incentive to continue running around the world once the tedious story ends. Game Informer states that the graphics are dazzling and the character models are beautiful, especially when they are zoomed in on. Games Master criticized the repetitive nature of the gameplay but acknowledged that the multiplayer co-op was fun. References External links, official website.